Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking about why I like to test every new box of salt before I do my first water change with it here in the fish room. Now, before we get started, the elephant in the room or the fish tank in the room, you guys are probably wondering what the heck's going on here with the low boy? What's up with this lighting? Is that macroalgae? What's going on with this tank? There's nothing in there. Actually, there's one little fish. And where's the 300? We haven't seen it in a while. So I will be doing separate videos on all three of those topics here this week, so stay tuned. They'll be out. Yeah, I just kind of want to address that before you're all wondering what's going on in the comment section. So back to this video here. I'm actually just making a batch of salt water for tomorrow's water change. It's about 30 gallons. I like to use this drum, or I guess it's a tub. I don't know what it is. It's a something. It's a container. I got it at Tractor Supply. I have a whole video on it. But either way, it dumps into the or not the refusing. It dumps into the low boy and then goes into the tank. So there's that angelfish. Yeah, you can't see him. Yeah, either way. But anyways, yeah. So I like to make my salt first and foremost about 12 to 24 hours before I do my water change. And before I add that salt, I like to go ahead and mix it up in the bag or the container that it comes in. Now, briefly on that, I've talked about this before, probably 100 times, but you want to mix up your salt before mixing your salt. Basically, you don't know how long that salt's been sitting there for. The particles and the different elements could have settled within there. I know that I've gotten containers of instant ocean and like reef crystals that have been completely solid. It's been sitting there for a while. It just kind of happens. So make sure you mix your salt before you mix your salt. Make sure everything's kind of evenly distributed before you start going. Now, when it comes to mixing, I like to go to 1.026. It's just a personal preference, but anything with reef tanks between 1.024.5 and 1.026.5 is pretty common. So 1.026 is kind of my range, but yeah, it works. It's kind of where I've been. So what I like to do is, for every box of salt I get, and you guys are wondering what I'm using, hopefully it doesn't mess up the camera, I use Fritz Blue Box. I switched to that probably 5 years ago, something like that. I did have some issues with reef crystals. We'll talk about that in a second. But either way, I like to go ahead and mix my salt. 24 hours later, I'll come in and test it. Now, I only test the very first batch of a new box because I like to see where my alkalinity, my calcium, and my magnesium is at. Now, moving back to the reef crystal issues, and if I tested that batch of salt, I wouldn't have had the issue I had in the 125. I'll try to find the video and link it. But either way, what happened was I ended up doing a water change, and my magnesium went over 2,000 parts per million. I was kind of wondering why my snails weren't sticking to the tank. What's going on with them, what the heck's happening, why they're dying, and all that kind of stuff. Basically, I lost pretty much my entire snail population, which then when they died, it caused nutrient issues. Is a little bit of a problem, all because of the higher magnesium level in that batch of salt. Now, I'm not saying that that was an issue with every batch. I had reef crystals for several years, no issues. It just kind of happened with 2 batches that I got. So I ended up switching over to Fritz, and I haven't had any issues since then. So with that said, testing those 3 major elements will give you an idea of where you're at when it comes to that water. Now, this is really important for those of you who are relying every week or bi-weekly on those water changes to keep your alkalinity and calcium where they need to be. So those of you who are not dosing 2-part or don't have a calcium reactor or not using like a calcwash or anything, you're relying on these water changes, these 10% or these 20% every other week to keep your alkalinity where it's at. Now, let's just say that you're used to doing a water change at 9.5, and then every week you do that 10% water change, and you're expecting it to be around 9.5. Well, what happens if you get a new box of salt and it's at 7 or 6 or something ridiculously low, and you do that same water changing expecting it to be where it should be, but then your corals start going downhill, you start losing them, and you just have a huge fluctuation, depending on the size of the tank, of course, in your alkalinity, and then you're going to have issues. So that's why it's always safe to go ahead and test your first batch of salt, because you're going to remove that issue and you're going to catch any further issues that might come up based on maybe having low magnesium, which you guys know that the relationship between calcium and alkalinity is based on how much magnesium's in the water. So you can either have a lot or barely have any, and both of those are going to have side effects on the tank. So with that said, I'm not going to drag this video on forever. Test the first batch of salt or water from a new box of salt or container of salt, whatever you so choose. Just test it. And just do it. It takes 10 minutes. It's not a big deal. If you want to test nitrates and phosphates, you can. If you're really trying to dial in your nutrients to that extent, I personally never done that, but hey, you do what you got to do. But either way, guys, that's it for this video. I got a ton of stuff to do. Lots of orders going out. If you want to support the channel, head over to fishofhex.com. I have one more 15 pack of corals for 300 that will ever be there. I have, it's so blue, I'm sorry. But I have changed up how I'm doing coral packs. Prices are going back to where they were when I originally started it several years ago. And we're growing out the 300. I mean, I'm growing out everything, and we're going to have stuff over here eventually when I get some new lighting. We'll talk about that in a later video. I'm not rambling anymore. We're done. We're done. What are we? We're 5 minutes in? Yeah, I'm done. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you've done for the channel, and I will see you later, all right? Peace.